If you're a single parent trying to make more money, you probably feel stuck. Between kids, bills, and zero time, building a business might seem impossible, but it's not. My name's Chidester and I grew a company to $115 million, and in this video, I'll show you the exact kind of business I recommend to parents who need flexibility, speed, and real income. No fluff, real examples. Let's go. So the first thing we have to do is start where you are. So let's say you're a single mom, you have 2 kids at home. We already know you have to find something at home, right? Like it's not an option to go into a brick and mortar office. So what I'd usually recommend is, if that's the case, start a online service-based business. And the easiest way to do that is pick something in the health, wealth, or relationship niche. I've said this in a million videos. If you have a skill in that area, pick that. If you don't have a skill, go to Allison.com, ALISON.com. It's free. Learn a skill and use that. Once you do that, you can literally start sending DMs to your followers, right? So during naps or lunch breaks or whatever, you can do that job throughout the day. Now, is it gonna be as efficient if you had your full 100% focus? Absolutely not. But one of the cool things is, if I was a mom and I was staying at home, or a dad, it doesn't really matter, and you had 2 kids, the first thing I'm gonna do is try to find extra time in between the day where I can bang stuff out. That's one of the things I love about having an online business at home, is because every single time you have a little bit of a break, you can use that time to actually help grow your business. So look for those gaps of time and then use that efficiently. But time means nothing if you're selling the wrong thing. So going back to what I said earlier, you wanna pick a model that has high leverage. So I had a dad who was a single dad, he had a couple kids, he created a $3,000 fitness package, and he created 4 new dads, and he made 2 sales, and that would pay for his rent in excess. So I'm not saying this is easy, but it goes back to health, wealth, relationship niche. Pick a service in one of those areas. The reason I use those 3 as examples is because every human being on earth wants more health, more wealth, better relationships. Every single person. And so if you can make sure that your service helps them get one of those 3 things, or a combination, it's always gonna work out in your favor, okay? Now, a question I get all the time is, how do you sell it with no audience? And the answer to that is, you sell before you build it. One of the biggest mistakes I see all the time, and it drives me absolutely nuts, is Shark Tank. I love Shark Tank. It's a great show. I love what they're trying to do. I like the purpose it represents. But the issue I have is, a lot of the contestants go on the show, they have an unproven business, right? They haven't made a lot of sales, which makes it unproven. They put all their time and energy and money into it. They mortgage their house, they take out loans, they're in credit card debt. Then they go to sell it and nobody buys it. And so they waste years of their life and time and effort and energy, when in reality, what they could have done a better job is, they could have sold it before. You could pre-sell it. Now, even if it's a product, let's say it's a product-based business, you can sell, let's say, protein bars or cups or whatever it is before, to see if there's actually a market for it. Or if you were to have a fitness program or a business program or whatever it is, you can sell it before. So for example, the one way I started, I obviously am not a single parent, but I started selling my fitness programs before I even built it. Once I made a couple sales, what I said to them, I said, hey, I'll get back to you within 72 hours. And then I built out their program. I built out their nutrition plan. I built out their workout program. And even though it wasn't what I would consider grade A, it wasn't the best thing I'd ever made, it was good enough to get started. And a lot of people fear, hey, it's not perfect, it's not good enough, and they never even start. My recommendation is, you sell it before you build it, so you don't waste a lot of time. Because if you go to sell it and you can't sell it, it either tells you have a skill issue, or it tells you have an offer issue, and then you can fix that. But you don't want to waste 1 or 2 years. And to be frank, if you're a single parent at home, or you have a 9-to-5 or whatever, you don't have a lot of time, right? So we want to utilize this time as best as humanly possible. That goes into the next thing. What if I don't have a social media following? Now, I know, looking at the screen right now, I have 454,000 followers, but I didn't always have that. On top of that, I used a lot of what are called Instagram shoutouts to grow that following, so it wasn't just completely organic. But one of the things you're gonna notice as you come on my page is that I will use clients, right? I will use clients as proof and testimonials of what I can do, right? And I'll have a story. If you scroll down this page, I think I have at least, let's see, there's one more right here. So I already have 3 pictures of clients I've worked with their results. And the whole point is to help people say, hey, Tanner helped these clients get results. Maybe he can get results from me too. You don't have to hope that you have a lot of followers. And to be quite honest with you guys, my engagement is not that great. And my assumption is that over the years, either A, it's the content, right? I need to do a better job on the content, or B, it's just because of those IG shoutouts. When you get those shoutouts, you can't really control what's coming to your page, right? So you're paying a page and then you're getting followers. You never know if they're sending bots or fake followers, etc. As long as I'm making sales, I didn't really care. So what I try to do, and what you should do, is that even if you have 10 followers, 15 followers, 20 followers, just have some proof with client results, because that's gonna go a lot further than you having a million followers on your page. If you have some proof with client results, that's gonna make a big difference in you closing deals, because you're gonna build trust. But trust alone won't close the deal if you don't know how to close over the phone. So I've done a few videos where I go through my actual sales script, okay? And I'm gonna take you guys through a typical structure of a call that you wanna have, and then I'm gonna go through the main 4 objections. So when you start a call, you're gonna have the intro and the pre-frame, okay? So you would start off by saying, look, so the point of this call is to understand what your goal is, what you're showing with what you've tried. If at the end of this call you feel what we do is a great fit, it, let's go ahead and move forward. If you don't, that's okay too. I'm just looking to give you clarity on what decision to make. Does that sound fair? Great. Then I move into discovery. Discovery is where you're asking questions to understand their situation, right? If you're giving advice and you weren't being paid for it, the whole point is to ask questions to understand their situation so then you can give them pertinent advice, okay? That's the main thing. So what's the goal? What's the struggle? What have you tried? Have you ever worked with a coach before? Have you ever ran ads before? Those things are super important for me because if I'm trying to help a business, I need to know those things so I know exactly where their business is at and I know what levers to pull. After that, I go into what I call the summary. Or point out their flaws. So here you'll see, Tanner, it sounds like from here, the biggest thing for you is XYZ and ABC. If we can figure out a way where you can 100% feel confident we can fix that, would you move forward? Yes. Okay, great. I want them to say yes. If they say, well, I still wouldn't need to think about it. It's like, well, I don't really understand. If I can fix your problem, you're still telling me you wouldn't move forward. You want to get yeses throughout the call because the more yeses you get, the more likely it is they're going to move forward. And then I have what I call the 3 pillars. So in short, what you need to do here is you need to think of 3 biggest reasons someone should work with you. So in this case, this is my script for my business. I work with a lot of business owners. 3 biggest things that business owners come to me for is offer. Then number 2 is lead generation, which I call the faucet system. Okay. And then who should they hire? Should they hire me? Should they hire someone else? There's a million business coaches, a million business consultants, or process. So if I go back up here to offer, what I want to say is here's what most people do. So the enemy, it's like they, I say they, it's like, here's what everyone else is doing that doesn't work. Here's what we do that does work. And that's why you should work with us. And they're like, okay, that makes sense. Cool. Then I go to pillar number 2. I say, here's what most people do to get leads. That doesn't work. Here's what we do to get leads. And this is why you should work with us. Cool. Then I go to process. And in process, I say, look, when you're hiring a business consultant, you need to know 3 things: experience, specificity, and attention. I have 7 years of experience, done 115 million sales. I'm very specific to what you're trying to sell. Like I've had a million different businesses and different clients. So I usually am very specific to the person I'm talking to. And then attention, I say, hey, look, you're not going to get to work directly with me. You work with my team, but would you rather work with Bill Gates for 5 minutes or his team for 5 hours? And they're like, oh, this team. It's like, cool. So those are the 3 biggest things I bring up because if I can get people on board with those 3 things, they usually buy. If they don't get on board with those things, they won't. So you need to make sure as you're building out your sales script, you really think about those 3 pillars in depth and in detail. So if they come on board with those 3 things, they will buy. Also make sure that you really push hard against what other people do, because if I come to you and say, hey, you should work with me, you know, my name's Tanner, I've made a lot of money, I can really help grow your business. That sounds like every other sales rep. But if I say, look, most people will tell you this, and they've heard that before, but I tell you this, and this is why it's better, they start feeling like, wow, this guy's really trustworthy. Like he really understands my situation. So you need to make sure you compare and contrast. You're not just saying, here's what I do, here's why I'm better, you should believe me, because people just will not buy that. Then after that, I go into what I call the brief overview of the program. So when you're selling something, people just want to know what they're getting, right? Especially if it's a service-based offer. So in this case, I might say, look, you get one-on-one support coach, daily office hours, daily performance business reviews, a Facebook group, a portal, scripts, templates, etc. Just so they understand what they're getting. In theory, nobody really cares, but they just want to have like 5 minutes. They just need to have a simple understanding of what they're going to get. Then I create certainty. So for me, the way I like to do certainty, you guys can see on the script on the screen, I say expert and beginner, but really I'll say, so look, now that you've heard everything, do you feel this would be a fit for you? Do you feel we should accept you to the program? How does it sound? And they'll either go, oh, it sounds amazing, I really want to get in. Very high level of certainty. Then you're ready to drop the price. They also could say, well, it kind of sounds okay, but that's not a high level of certainty. You usually do not want to move forward on that. So if they say that, you're like, well, why don't you sound more certain, et cetera, et cetera. Like that's really important, okay? Then after that, you go into the closing. The way I close is I'll just say, hey, look, the price is this much for 4 months. So in this case on the screen, it says 16K, but if your program's 10K or 12K or 8K or 4K, whatever, you just say the price. Then you're gonna get up to 4 objections. It's really cool when you're a business owner because people, if they're on the sales call, they usually wanna be there. Very rarely are you gonna get someone on the call who doesn't actually wanna be there. So you're only gonna get 4 objections. Price, spouse, I need to think about it, and belief, like, hey, I'm just scared. So this is how you handle all of them. Now, the most common objection is price. So I would say, look, the price of the program is, look at my screen, you guys can follow my mouse as I'm going along. The price of the program is $16,000. I also wanna know what's the lowest amount I'll sell it for. So what I mean by that is if someone came to me and said, Tanner, look, I'm on my last leg, this is all the money I have, like, I'll do anything you ask, like, I'm praying to God, please help me. It's not like it's the best deal, and I'm like, all right, like, okay, I'll do it for at least 4. So let's say in this case, the program is 16,000, but I'll take at least 4,000. This will come back later, as you'll see. So I'll say, okay, look, the price of the program is 16,000. They're like, Tanner, it sounds great, I just can't do it. I got it, no problem. Is there anything else besides the price that would stop you from moving forward today? They're like, just the price. That's the first tie down. Then I say, got it. So if we're able to figure out the price, you move forward. Yes, that's the second tie down. So then I say, cool, so what's your cash on hand? Checking, savings, credit card. What do you have today that you use towards the payment? Not like in a month, not in a week, like what do you have available? I'm not saying you have to spend it all, but what do you have? Then they'll tell me. So let's say in this scenario, they say anything above 4 grand, I'm good to keep selling it. If they say below 4 grand, then it's like, okay, like I can't go that low, da, 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 da. You try to see if they can come up with more money. Now, some sales trainers will try to tell you, oh, if they don't have it, you need to build more certainty or more clarity, or or build more value. Look, this is not a Lamborghini, this is a program. So in theory, that sounds great, but realistically, if someone does not have the cash, yes, they could go get loans and, you know, finance and sell their house, all that stuff, but people are not gonna do that usually unless your business is like absolutely life-changing. So I just say this to be more practical. So instead, and think about it this way, you wanna close on the spot. You don't wanna wait, you know, 2, 3, 4 weeks, a month to try to close a deal. So let's say they say anything above 4 grand. So he goes, well, Tanner, you know, I have 8 grand. So anything above 4 grand, I'll take. So what I'll say is, look, so John, and you wanna get this commitment before you tell them the price. Anytime you change the price or you give discounts or anything like that, you wanna make sure you get this confirmation. So I'll say, look, well, typically the price of the program is 16K. I don't think that's a realistic option for you. So I'm down to work out a customized payment solution, but before I do, I just wanna make sure that you can move forward today. Well, what's it gonna be? Well, like I said, I'll work it out for you. But before I do, I just wanna make sure you can move forward. Okay, cool, that's fair. So look, I don't think you should spend all of it, but I do think you should do something. And then I'll say, so look, I'll have you come in at the 8,000, you put down 4,000 now, so you have a little bit of a cushion. You do 4,000 next month, and then you come in, you work hard, you don't tell any other clients that we worked out a customized solution. We'll call it a day. Does that sound fair enough? And you close. And then if they still give you pushback, you're knowing they're kind of full of BS. Now, people will hear this. In the beginning of a business, this may not seem like a big deal, but if your business is doing $1 million a month, $2 million a month, 500,000 a month, whatever, this makes a huge difference. This will take your closing rate from 30% to 45 or 50%. That makes a huge difference. That's gonna be hundreds of thousands of dollars swing in a bigger business. It also allows you to help people, like out of the goodness of your heart, if you're trying to. I think of it this way. People go, well, that's not ethical. You're selling a different price. Well, you can sell it at whatever price you want. The price stays the same. It's just they couldn't pay for it. So then in that case, it's like, okay, like, do you want to let them in for a little less, or do you just want to let them go? It's your call, but I think it's better to let more people in and try to actually help them than just turning people away. In a service-based business, you can get away with this. A product-based business, you obviously can't because you have upfront costs. Now, if it's not the price objection, then it's going to be the spouse objection. This is more common with women, but sometimes guys will try to say this, okay? So if someone says, well, Tanner, sounds great, but I got to talk to my wife. I go, cool. What if she says no? Well, I'd probably do it anyways. Great, let's get started. That happens 20% of the time. It's very rare. What if they say no? Well, then I can't do it. Okay, then I go to B. What would their biggest objection be? They think this. Oh, they think it's the price. Got it. So then I go back up to the price and isolate. I go, got it. So it's not that you need to talk to your wife. You just know that she's gonna have a price issue, right? Great. So if we figure out the price, are you in? Yes. Close. Okay. Then you go to C, past agreements. So got it. It would sound like this. I just want to make sure you guys are following. So they go, I gotta talk to my wife. What are you gonna do if she says no? Well, I wouldn't do it. Got it. What would her biggest objection be? It'd be price. I beat price. Then he goes, yeah, but I still gotta talk to my wife. Then I go to C and I go, well, look, does your wife know you're struggling with XYZ? Do they approve of you struggling with XYZ? If the roles were reversed and your wife needed this, would you support her? Great. So the thing is, you're not asking for permission, you're asking for support, because if you ask them and they say no and you don't do it, and 2 years later you're still poor, you will resent them, and that's when things start to go downhill because you didn't own your goals. You tell them that if I don't do this for me, I'm going to resent you, and I'm not going to complain to what I commit to, and I'm going to go all in. I'm not going to ask for your permission. I'm just asking for support. That usually will get them over the edge. Now, if they still will not do it, right? Usually the rule in sales is 3 times, don't push anymore. So then you go to D, which is delayed payment. Okay. So I'll say, so look, so then let's do this. I'm going to go ahead and ask you to put down a deposit. Well, actually before that, this is not on the sheet, but here's what I actually say. I was like, look, are you 51% yes or 51% no? They're like, I'm 51% yes. And I'm like, cool. So look, meaning if you wake up tomorrow and you feel the way you do right now, you're in. Yeah. Okay, cool. So let's do this. I'm going to ask you to go ahead and put down a deposit. And if you go back to your wife, if she says no, she doesn't want you to make more money and be more successful and, you know, buy her a new house, like LOL, like I'll be laughing. I'll go ahead and refund you, call it a day. Sound fair enough. Sometimes they'll go for it. Sometimes they won't. Now, here's the cool part. If they don't, I'll say, well, cool. When can you talk to your wife by? Oh, by 10 a.m. tomorrow. Cool. So you let me know by 10 a.m. tomorrow if you're in or out. If I don't hear back from you, you're officially out. Does that sound fair? Cool. So that way you're not waiting around and you've pushed as hard as you can without breaking rapport. If you break rapport and they hate you, like that's not going to do anything for you. You're not going to close a deal and then they're going to talk shit about you, right? So we don't want to leave calls that way. That's spouse. Now, the next one is time. I need to think about it. Now, there's a million ways to handle time. This is how I like to handle it. I'll say, look, do you know what deciding means? It means to cut off in Latin. So what future are we cutting off today? Your passive in action or the future of your dreams? Because indecision is still decision. If you're cool with that, I have 3 questions to ask you. Based on that, you'll know it too. Cool? Yeah. And I'll say, do you think you're more or less likely working with us to hit your goal, working with us? They're like, yeah, more like. I'm like, do you believe we're going to deliver what was promised? They're like, yeah, probably. Do you have access to funds or know someone does? Yeah. So if they say yes to all 3, I'll say, well, based on that, you have all the information you need to make a decision. So let's just go ahead and make it. Sound good? Keep in mind, like this doesn't come up if you've done a good job. Objections usually come up because you didn't do a good job, but this objection in general doesn't come up that much, at least for me. If you do a good job, this really shouldn't come up much. It's usually going to be price, then spouse, and then belief usually will come up last. Okay. So belief is they're still scared. Okay. So let's say I close something like, Tanner, like I really want to do it, but I'm just scared. Like, you know, I just, it's just all my money. I just don't know if it's going to work, etc. So they're scared it's not going to work. So I'll say, well, look, let's just walk through that. What's the worst thing you can possibly imagine happening with this? Okay. What would you make you feel comfortable moving forward? They're usually going to like, well, it's not going to work. Nothing would make me comfortable. I'm like, oh, cool. So look, you have 3 guarantees. You sign up to get results. Life's great, right? I'm happy. You're happy, etc. You do nothing. You do it, excuse me, and it doesn't work. You get your money back. That's if you have a performance guarantee. If you are selling a service-based business, please do not just give a money back guarantee. That's a product-based business. Service-based, they have to do certain stipulations to get performance guarantee, meaning you pick stuff that you know if they do, they'll get the result. Okay, like if I'm coaching a kid on basketball and he never practices, he's not gonna be good at basketball. If I sell you a water bottle and the water bottle is defective, then yeah, I should get a refund. Does that make sense? So product versus service-based business. And then I'll say, number 3 is you do nothing or you stay stuck. So all these options are risk-free. So you're gonna pick the option that's going to give you the potential to get where you wanna go, or you're gonna pick the option that guarantees you stay stuck. You do this, you will close at a super high clip. This is, years of door-to-door sales experience. This is years of on the phone. If you do this, this is the most simplistic script that will close you millions and millions of dollars. It's made me a multi-millionaire, probably make me a billionaire. That's how good the script is. So follow it. Hopefully that was helpful for you guys. If you have comments about it, just drop it in the comment section below. So now that you know how to close, let's move into what you actually need to track. So there's really just 3 things you need to track. Your output in DMs per day, how many conversations you're starting. Number 2 is how many calls you get, and then how many closes you get, obviously, and you look at those numbers. So typically what I tell someone to do, especially when they're starting a business, is try to send up to 100 DMs a day, max. Now, if you can't send 100 DMs a day, send as many as you can, right? Send what you can actually send as a single parent. Number 2 is then how many of those DMs turn to calls. Usually you want about at least, I would say 10%. So if you send 100 DMs, you want to get at least 10 calls, usually, right? If you get a little less, that still works. But if you're way off those metrics, that tells you have a messaging issue. You are weird in talking, like you need to have some practice or you need to get some help. Then after that, the closing percentage should be at least 30% of the calls you take. Okay, so if you take 10 calls, you should close 3. When I was selling fitness, I was able to close at 50 to 60% based on the price objection you guys saw. That's why it actually raises your closing percentage if you follow that. But those are the 3 metrics you need to track. If you're tracking anything else, it's really stupid. Like it doesn't matter how many likes you get, it doesn't matter what people say or what they don't say, etc. Those are the 3 metrics that are actually going to move the business forward. Okay, so that moves back into free time outside of working, which I think when you're working, you should be sending as many messages as possible. Think of it this way: if you're working at home and you're not meeting anyone, let's say you had to go out in public and you were trying to meet girls, how would you meet more girls? You go up and talk to as many girls as possible, right? So it's the same thing here with the business. Like you want to be messaging as many people as humanly possible to have as many conversations and turn those people into clients. When you have free time, be learning. Do not, be scrolling aimlessly. Schedule 30 minutes a day or so, I would say, for tactical learning. So, if you're watching a YouTube video, hopefully this video you're watching right now, you're not just aimlessly scrolling, trying to learn something. You need to be intentional with your time. There's so many ways to waste time now with the internet. You have to be very intentional and block out time, because if you're not intentional with your time, you absolutely will waste it. So if you're trying to learn something, let's say you're like, how do I DM better? And you don't have money for a coach. You could go on YouTube just like so, right? Like this. And you could say, let's load how to set sales calls in DMs. Let's see if video pops up. Okay. Doesn't look like there's anything super relevant, but you could go down this and see, right? Ultimate appointment setting guide from this guy right here. I don't even know who this guy is. Like there's a lot of stuff you could do. So I definitely think if you need to learn something, you could go on YouTube at the bare minimum. You could go to allison.com, which is free, and learn that skill. Just don't be aimlessly scrolling. And then you use what you learned that exact same day. Now, some parents will stop themselves from doing this because they say, I'm not a tech person. Like I'm not a tech guru. I don't know how to do it. The first thing I would say is you need to learn how to do it, right? If I want to be in shape, I have to learn about nutrition. I have to learn about training. Like just saying like, oh yeah, I'm just not good at being in shape, I just think is a cop out. That would be number 1. Number 2 is it's super simple. So you would just need a Google Doc, right? So if you have a Gmail account, you can get Google Docs, Calendly, right? Or Acuity, it doesn't really matter, but it's just somewhere to schedule calls. And then you would need Stripe or Wave or Easy Pay Direct or some type of merchant account, and you're good to go. That's all you need. 3 things. People think it takes a lot to start online business, but it's usually just cop outs and it's in their mind, right? I have another video on this, but a lot of people will have ego, right? And they don't want to look stupid. The thing is, if you're going to be successful, you're constantly trying to be stupid. You're constantly trying to do things that make you look dumb so you can continue to learn things to be better. So hopefully that all makes sense, guys. This is how I start off as a single parent, but if you want to see my exact process for generating over $115 million in sales, click here.